Mr. Classroom Clips! Mr. Classroom Clips! Mr. Classroom Clips! Mr. Classroom Clips!
Hello Year 12. As promised and as requested by you in class, I'm going to make a quick video explaining how to use the scaffold in structuring your essays in response to Module A, Comparative Study of Text and Context, and our elective intertextual perspectives with the focus on Metropolis and 1984. So in our comparative study, we're much more interested in this module than in other modules in how the context of a composer is influencing his text and particularly the choices that he makes in representing ideas in his text. So in essence, we're looking at how an author makes some observations in his context and decides, oh, I want to comment on this for whatever reason, and so he responds to this context in some way, and that's kind of what we're examining. So he perceives something in his context, he decides that this context generates certain values, and he wants to assess those values in his text. So consequently, the author can decide to do one of three things. He can either just describe what it is he sees in his context and just objectively describe what he's observing, or he might decide to expose and question what he sees as maybe being concealed in the society, or he may go one step further and be countercultural and warn his contemporaries and the future generations about the predicted future and suggest some alternatives in the path forward. So this kind of gives us this chain in terms of how the ideas come to be and how to sort of explore this. That we start off with the context and the composer observing something in the context and deciding on certain values that he wants to engage with. So the audience makes some decision about the context and the values. And so in order to make his point about this context, he made certain choices in terms of how to expose, question, or challenge what he sees in his society. And those choices are obviously the textual, technical choices that he uses to construct his text. And that is what we're examining and comparing to another author's choices in his text. So given these components and the core elements of the rubric, which I'm not going to spend time on in this video, we kind of make these four assertions. Your essay has to be comparative in this module. It is a comparative study of text. Therefore, it should be referring to both your text in each of your body paragraphs. So you can't just you don't want to do the block structure thing where you do one text in one paragraph and then the next text in the other paragraph, because you're not going to be able to compose a sufficiently comparative essay. Context needs to be much more prominent than it is in the other modules, so try to embed it in almost every evidence cluster. Every new idea that you present has to somehow be linked or anchored in the context. And most likely you're going to end up with two fairly substantial body paragraphs. You may get to three if you have lots of time and you write substantial, or if you write quickly enough. But essentially look at 2 to 3 clear connections between our two texts. So just to reiterate the ideas from that flowchart we just looked at, in essence, your evidence clusters will be slightly different from what they have been in maybe in other essays. You will start with what is the point the author is trying to make. Is he trying to describe his situation? Is he trying to question something in society? Or is he actually trying to challenge and be counter-cultural? Next, you want to anchor that in the context. So why is he doing this? Because he's perceived X, Y, or Z in his particular setting. And then you look at the how, what are the choices he's made in terms of technical choices. And lastly, you want to evaluate, this is where you get to do your great analysis and show what an excellent English student you are. Why is this effective? So that would be how you construct your evidence clusters within your body paragraphs for this module. So if we then look at how this all comes together, what the evidence will look like when you put it together into an essay, the overall structure of the essay will be similar to most other modules. You will start your introduction with a sentence where you catch the question, the keywords from the question, just to show the marker that, yes, I understand what I'm being asked, and here is my response to this particular question. You will then build that into a thesis in your next sentence, and then sentence 3 and 4 will unpack your thesis into your topic sentences. It might be a third one there as well, if you feel you have the time for 3 paragraphs. When we get down to the body paragraphs, you'll then do this twice over. Obviously, you'll have 2 body paragraphs at least, maybe 3 times. You'll start with a generic topic sentence, which could be something along the lines of both texts explore how, by depending too much on man-made technology, humans lose their individuality. You then bring that into a specific topic sentence, for instance, on Metropolis specifically. You might say that in Metropolis, Lang warns us of over-reliance on conveyor belt and mass production from the very opening of the film. And then that might lead you into your first evidence cluster, which could be either about the montage that opens the film, or it could be about the workers coming down in lockstep at shift change, or some other element where we see the machines dehumanizing individuals. And then you follow that up with a specific topic sentence on 1984, which could be something like Orwell's equivalent is the artificial language of Newspeak, which is designed with the purpose to remove human sense of self. And that becomes the technology in that regard. And then you back that up with some specific references, maybe to the appendix or some other element of Newspeak in the film. And then you continue that into a second example, another evidence cluster from Metropolis and another one from 1984, and linking those together with some neat linking sentences. And essentially that's the structure of your body paragraphs. You would do that twice over to create the body of your essay. When we move on to the conclusion, it should be pretty much what you've seen in the other of the modules. You pretty much restating your thesis without restating your thesis, so you'd have to use different words, but aiming at saying the same thing. Same thing with your topic sentences. We've discussed the idea of just reversing the, more or less using hyperbaton, reversing the order of your syntactic elements to put the clauses in a different order and therefore say the same sentence without sounding too similar. That might be what you do for your 2 topic sentences restated at the end of your conclusion. And then you want to leave your marker with some sort of memorable finale, so when they put your essay down, they're still quite excited about what they've just read, and they give you an excellent mark. I hope that's helpful, and I will try to create a similar video for the other 3 essays as well.